Have you taken the time to record everyday life? Hello everyone, Miss Carrie here. This scrapbook page is designed to record a simple, everyday memory, and I can't wait to show you how it comes together. On my desk, I have the Color Rush Golden Days kit. Recently, I shared an unboxing of this kit and shared a few of my favorite pieces in the collection and some ways to use the kit. I also showed you which Ranger and Catherine Pooler inks match the color palette of this kit. Sharing ways to use what you have in your collection is one of my favorite things to do. In the Golden Days kit, there are 12 double-sided pattern papers with a boho vintage vibe. The kit also includes canvas flare buttons from Scrap Happy Studio, these adorable little crochet bows, glitter winged hearts, coordinating bits and pieces, frazzles and ribbon, and a set of glitter trimmed American Craft thicker letters. In the unboxing video, I shared my discount code to order this collection. In the description below, I'll add a link to that video along with the list of supplies I'll be using today. Let's get started with the project. For my background, I've selected a floral print and a script pattern. I chose the script pattern because it has many biblical scripture references. The photo I'm using is of our daughter holding a Bible, and I thought this would be perfect for her to record all the struggles she's faced recently. This page with the torn background is going to be for the photo, and I'll create another page where she can journal. That page is not for me to share, but I will be using the same patterns and ephemera bits. One of the tips I often share with torn papers is how to use water to control that tearing and rolling. Color Rush Studio paper has a glossy finish, so instead of using a water brush like I normally do, I'm spritzing the torn edges before I roll them. If you struggle with rolling paper or are using a more delicate print, the handle of a paintbrush makes a great paper rolling tool. I also like that the wet paper edges are easier to tear if I need to make adjustments to the shape, and the rolled paper will stay in place once the paper dries. Before adhering everything down, I dried my paper with a heat tool. I am placing this down onto some 12 by 12 cardstock using a tape runner. Now that all the edges are stuck down, I'm going to add some ink to the edges to frame this page. I'm using Vintage Photo Distress ink, and I'm just running that small ink pad around the edges. I'm adding more to the corners to create the look of aged paper. Like I said, the Color Rush paper collection has a glossy finish, and that's why I chose a dye ink over pigment. The dye ink will dry faster and it soaks into the paper fibers. Pigment inks often sit on top of glossy paper and they can smudge easily. This photo was taken by a friend of our daughter, the same one who took the wedding photos I've been sharing. I'll make sure to add her link in the description below because she does such amazing work. The original photo was black and white, but I wanted the blue in her dress and the soft peach of the daisies to be part of the picture. With an editing software, I added those colors. You can also achieve the same effect with alcohol markers. I really want this photo to be the center point of the page, so I'm using that bolder polka dot pattern for my frame. I distressed the edges and I'm adding ink to the paper and around the photo. Sometimes people panic when I add ink to the edges of my photos, but I think it's a great way to make them stand out and fit the theme of a layout. Again, I do suggest that you use a dye-based ink because pigment inks will smudge on photo paper. Now this layout has some rather bold patterns. So I'm going to bring in a layer of vellum behind that photo. I added texture with an embossing folder, and I love the way this looks. Vellum can be tricky to emboss because it tears easily. Instead of a base plate, I use a silicone embossing mat. I learned this trick from the owner of Honeybee Stamps. It lessens the pressure and prevents that vellum from tearing when you run the folder through your machine. Now that all my layers are in place, it's time to bring in those ephemera bits. I want to use the floral die cuts to create a large frame, but there aren't many here. Instead of adding from my stash, I'm just going to cut these in half. When I tuck these behind the photo, I can layer them in a way that creates a large flower frame. The bright florals are really going to help that photo stand out. As I finish cutting and layering these, I would love it if you took a moment to tap the subscribe button and thumbs up icon below this video. This year, my goal is to grow my channel, and your feedback helps me know the type of content you enjoy. I also appreciate your comments. Many of you are so kind and leave wonderful words of encouragement that I truly enjoy. Near the top cluster of flowers, I added a bundle of gold twine. I'm going to create another bundle and place it behind this lovely flare embellishment. To create a twine bundle, I wrap the gold twine around my fingers, and then I adjust the loops. Now you can add a glue dot where all of the loops cross, or you can just stick it to the adhesive on the back of the button like I'm doing here. I created 2 loops of twine so that I could have them on either side of that flare, and I'm just going to layer it right here over the top of the flowers. For my title, I'm adding the words faith over fear. At the beginning of the video, I asked you if you had ever scrapbooked the everyday moments. I know that I'm guilty of only recording milestones, events, and holidays, but when I look through old photo albums, I wish I had taken the time to snap photos of my grandmother drinking her coffee, or my kids reading a book, or my husband working on the car with the kids. Even though this was a staged photo, our daughter has really found strength in her faith this year. I don't have permission to share her story yet, but I believe that the journaling she's going to add to this page will be one that she looks back on and remembers. I'm going to finish up this page real quick, and then I'll share the completed project with you. Here is the layout that I created today. Using some small gold letters from my stash, I finished up the phrase over fear. I also added this larger butterfly at the top to create some directional flow down to the title. To bring more of the gold to my page, I added some flat pearls from my stash around that photo. Today's scrapbook page showcases the August kit from Color Rush Studio. The collection has a vintage boho vibe, which is perfect for recording your everyday moments. I took advantage of the biblical script, vintage elements, and soft florals to create a simple layout for our daughter to record a few of her thoughts, and I love how it turned out. If you're one who likes to pin photos to inspiration boards, I've added still shots of this layout to my website, social media posts, and in the Color Rush Studio Facebook group for you to use. I want to thank you for joining me. I hope this project inspired you to try something new. If you have any questions about this project or the supplies I used, feel free to post that in the comments below. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I can't wait to see what you create.